Shooting is done, and normally that would just be a milestone, another step in the pipeline, another update on a show that's quietly moving toward release. But with Dune Prophecy Season 2, that single detail changes the entire conversation. Because now it's not if this show is coming back, it's when. And more importantly, why that timing might make or break it. See, on paper, this should be simple. You finish shooting, you go through post, and you aim for the next available window, late 2026 maybe? That's what people are expecting. That's what makes sense until you realize what's sitting right in front of it. Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 3. Now, suddenly, this isn't just a release schedule, it's a strategy. Because if they drop season 2 right before the film, it becomes something bigger than a show. It becomes a lead in, a ramp, a way to pull everyone back into this universe right before the biggest chapter hits theaters. But if they get that wrong, if the show doesn't land, if it feels small, rushed, or unnecessary, then instead of building hype, it risks draining it. And that's the tightrope. This isn't just about bringing a series back, it's about deciding whether Dune Prophecy is strong enough to stand next to the main saga, or if it needs to stay out of its way, because one of those choices builds momentum, the other one exposes weakness, and right now with season 2 finished shooting and sitting in post, they have to choose. Welcome to Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to the channel and a fan of Dune and Dune Prophecy, hit that subscribe button because I talk about it and discuss it with you all the time right here on the channel. And let me know your thoughts of Dune Prophecy Season 1 and what you hope and what you expect from Season 2. Let me know in the comments down below. Shooting on Dune Prophecy Season 2 is done. That's the first real concrete milestone, and it matters more than people are giving it credit for, because once a show like this wraps filming, especially something this effects heavy, you're not almost there, you're entering the longest, most delicate phase of the entire process. Post-production on something tied to the Dune universe isn't just cleanup, it's world building, it's scale, it's atmosphere. It's making sure it actually feels like it belongs next to Villeneuve's films. And that's where the timeline starts to get intriguing. Right now, the official expectation floating around is sometime in 2026. But if you actually look at how these productions move, and more importantly, what Warner Brothers is juggling, you start to see the real complication. Because sitting right in the middle of all of this is Dune Part 3. That's the chess piece nobody can ignore. And now the question becomes, how do you position Season 2 around that? And there are really two paths here, and both of them make a lot of sense, but for completely different reasons. The first is the synergy play. This is the aggressive, confident move. You drop Dune Prophecy Season 2 in late 2026, maybe fall, maybe early winter, and you let it run straight into the release of Part 3. It becomes a runway, a lead-in. You keep audiences inside the Dune universe without letting them leave. Every week, they're watching the show, absorbing the lore, getting immersed in the politics and the mythology, and then boom, the movie hits you. From a business standpoint, that's powerful. You're not just releasing a show and a movie, you're creating an ecosystem. You're turning Dune into an event that stretches across months. HBO gets engagement, Warner Brothers gets box office momentum, and the audience never disengages. And honestly, there's precedent for this kind of thinking. Studios love synergy when they think they've got something big. Marvel built an entire empire on it. Star Wars leans on it constantly. When it works, it doesn't just boost one project, it elevates the entire brand. But here's the problem. That only works if everything hits. Because the flip side of synergy is saturation. And that leads to the second option. Avoid fatigue. This is the more cautious, arguably smarter play. You push Season 2 to early 2027. You let Part 3 have its moment, full spotlight, full attention, no competition from its own franchise. And then, once that wave settles, you bring the show back. This does a couple of things. First, it protects the film. There's no risk of the show muddying the waters, no chance of audiences feeling like they are being overloaded with Dune content right before a major theatrical release. You keep the movie clean, focused, and positioned as the main event. Second, and this might be even more important here, You give the show time because, let's be real, season one didn't fully land for everybody. It had strong performances, interesting ideas, but it also felt smaller than people expected. Less cinematic, less Dune. Season 2 is clearly trying to correct that. Bigger scope, more episodes, more time on Arrakis. That means heavier VFX, more polish, more pressure to get the tone right. Rushing that just to hit a synergy window, that's how you end up with something that feels unfinished. And this is not the kind of franchise that survives that. Dune lives and dies on immersion. So when you really weigh these two options, synergy versus fatigue, it stops being a simple scheduling decision. It becomes a question of confidence versus control. Do they believe season 2 is strong enough, polished enough, essential enough to sit right beside a major film and enhance it? Or do they treat it as something that needs space to stand on its own and prove itself? If you're asking what makes the most business sense, the safe money is on early 2027, not because synergy is a bad idea, but because the downside risk is too high. If season 2 underwhelms before Dune Part 3 hits, you're not just hurting the show, you're potentially softening excitement for the film, and no studio is taking that gamble on a billion-dollar franchise. Give the movie its runway, then bring the show back when audiences are hungry again. That's how you build longevity instead of chasing a moment. Now, stepping away from the release strategy for a second, the episode count bump is a quiet but important detail. And I've talked about this in the past. Season 1 had 6 episodes. Season 2 is reportedly expanding to 8. And look, that's not something to overhype, but it does tell you something. It tells you they felt constrained the first time around, like they didn't have enough room to let the story breathe. 2 extra episodes isn't just more content, it's more space for political complexity, more time to develop characters, more room to actually make the world feel lived in. It's a correction. And that leads directly into where the story is heading, because this is where season 2 either justifies its existence or does not. Season 1 was, at its core, setup. It was about establishing the Bene Gesserit, planting the seeds of their influence, showing how this order begins to shape the galaxy from the shadows. But it was also very contained, a lot of lived-in rooms, conversations, manipulation, slow burn tension. Season 2 is shifting outward. Arrakis is no longer just a distant idea, it's becoming central. And that changes everything, because the moment you step into Arrakis, the tone of the story changes. It's no longer just political, it's spiritual, ecological, mythic. It's where power isn't just negotiated, it's claimed. At the same time, the Empire itself is destabilized. With the Emperor gone, you're looking at a vacuum, and in Dune, power vacuums don't stay empty, they get filled fast, and usually violently. New factions, new power plays, new alliances forming and breaking in real time. And right in the middle of that, the Bene Gesserit are evolving. This is where they stop being an emerging force and start becoming something dangerous. Season 1 showed the foundation. Season 2 is where the methods get sharper, more calculated, more morally questionable. You're going to see the line between guidance and control start to disappear. Religion becomes a tool, bloodlines become strategy, people become pieces. And internally, that's not going to be clean. The tension within the sisterhood itself is only going to get worse. Different ideologies, different visions of what they should be, how far they should go. That kind of conflict is what makes this intriguing. Not just who they're manipulating, but what happens when they stop agreeing with one another. So when you step back and look at all of this, season 2 starts to feel like less of a continuation and more like a pivot, a course correction, if you will. A chance to take what worked in season 1 and expand it into something that actually feels like it belongs in this universe at the highest level. And that brings us to the real question. What do you actually want from this? Because at this point, more of the same isn't enough. What this show needs to do to justify its place alongside the films, not copy them, but match their weight, their presence, that feeling that what you're watching matters on a larger scale. Personally, I want to see confidence. Lean into Arrakis. Let the world feel harsh and spiritual and dangerous. Push the Bene Gesserit into uncomfortable territory. Make their decisions feel consequential, not just clever. Let the politics get messy. Let the power struggles actually cost something. And above all, slow down where it matters and go big where it counts. Because if season 2 finds that balance, it really embraces what makes Dune, Dune. Then this stops being that TV spin-off and starts becoming essential. And I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, feel free to hit the like button. And until next time, may you be the master of your own universe.